Yeah, great. Thank you, Paul, and just don't go too far because I'm going to call right back on you. So we're ready to just do a little bit of a recap of the day. We started the day hearing presentations about trends and data that tell the story of climate change. And then we shifted to presentations on how the physical and ecological, as well as community systems, have been impacted, and got a glimpse and some inspiration into what the resilience and response need related to climate change can look like. And so I want to thank all our presenters today for your thought-provoking presentations. And now I would like to invite our three moderators from today's session, Mike Collian, Lisa Lynn, and Paul English to we have about a couple of minutes for each of you to share your thoughts and observations about connections opportunities that were identified throughout the day. So I'll go in the order of the presentations. We'll start with Mike, and then we'll go to Alyssa, and then Paul. Do we have Mike with us?
We do. I'm just trying to start my video.
Great.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Yeah, it was a really a lot of information to take in, but I thought there was quite a bit to that connected a lot of the presentations that we heard, at least in the first session. We heard the aspect of how climate is changing the nature of change, and maybe we need to think about how we evaluate that, how we look at that, how we can use that to advance our thinking on resilience, adaptation, and other measures. If we're heading into change and territory that we haven't seen before, we need to get ahead of that or get a better handle on that with even more observations, but we do have a lot at our disposal already in seeing those changes. And I think we're at the leading edge often, but need to continue to reel that in. I think there was a lot of interesting discussion around the timescales that are necessary for these decisions. And it really brings together a lot of the work that we heard in session 1. It seemed to carry through in session 2, 3, and 4, or 2 and 3. And so I'll be interested to hear what other moderators have to say. But there was a lot of connections that came through.
Thank you. Alyssa?
Yeah, I'll pick up there, and then I have a different observation as well. But just like you were saying, that it seems that there's a lot of smaller scales in time, in terms of time frames, especially, but also geography that would be useful. So that's hard to do in a written report. So maybe Indicators has to provide online links to larger databases, because it seems that at the monthly or seasonal time scale is going to be very important for certain things. And then there were others that maybe even not just the seasonal trends are worth as much study, but maybe even down to, in some cases, daily or hourly information, or getting the rates of those change. So we may have to be building on larger databases than what we're used to looking at in a simple graphic or two, or somehow rolling that up into simpler graphics. That's not an easy task. So that's just an observation that how do you share this information once we start to draw on what we learned today about what we want to see and look at, then how do you share that information? And then it also occurred to me from my group, and then some of the others as well, there are some buffering capacities in certain types of systems, others not, but maybe we can try to draw on indicators that help us determine what those buffers are, even if they're in smaller scale systems, so we can leverage that information for decision making and for the resilience of larger systems. Like, is there some way to foster a physical roll up, if you will, of things that are working or helpful at smaller scale systems? And they may not be because they're habitat related, but how can we protect those smaller systems And then what would we need to be tracking to do that in order to protect those systems that do provide some buffering capacities on their own? And that may help even in the last session, which was, about the physical, impacts to humans, like what can we package together or support that can have some kind of feedback of its own in a good way. That's it.
Thanks, Alyssa. Paul?
Yeah, thinking about the different areas we were discussing today, I just think I wanted to make like a call for, more interdisciplinary research between, the physical sciences, the natural resources sciences and public health research. And, this is really an area, like, for example, the work that Rupa Basu has done with scripts. We need expertise outside each other's fields to properly understand all these issues. And, I think the public health side of this has really been under-resourced. If you're looking at California, where, the funding for climate change work, primarily has gone to Cal EPA, and very little funding on climate change has gone into the public health department. And the other sad fact is now all the local and state public health departments are totally overwhelmed with COVID, and who knows, this could be, the public health tends to just go from one crisis to another. And so there really needs to be paid attention, more attention to kind of funding and providing resources to all these sides of the equation, the physical sciences, the ecosystem sciences, the public health sciences, and they really need to be funded adequately. We need to have strong researchers in all ends of this. And, I really think we need to start a dialogue on how we can move forward on that.
Thanks, Paul. Thank you. So a couple of things as we close the day. One, just want to remind everyone, we would love to get everyone's reflections on today. So please go to Slack and share your thoughts. What were your takeaway? What were the connections that you've heard throughout the day? So we'd love to get that from you. Also, to all our presenters, want to let you know that I saw through the chat several requests throughout the day, people wanting to get their hands on your presentation. So should you choose to do so and share it through Slack, that would be great. I think especially presentations that had slides with resources would really be helpful to share on Slack. And I'm going to turn it over to Carmen to close the day, but please stay after Carmen is done. We have a fun word cloud for everyone to share your thoughts at the end. So stay with us for that fun part at the end.
Well, thank you, everyone. It has been such a learning experience for me throughout the day. Each talk presented a new tidbit or big chunk of information that I hadn't previously known about. There's a lot of lessons to be learned. It's been a long day, so I'm not really gonna say a whole lot other than the fact that I echo what Paul has said about the need to just work together and not stay in our own disciplines. As many of you know, the solution to the climate change crisis is going to take our collective minds, our collective knowledge, our collective understanding, and we're hoping to forge those connections, at least get started on forging those connections through today's workshop and tomorrow. I was hoping at OEHHA, we're hoping that more people would take advantage of the opportunity to engage in conversations in Slack. And so if you hadn't joined our Slack workspace, we are strongly encouraging you to do so, because that would allow us to continue some of these discussions, exchange resources, exchange contact information, and really go across our disciplines and our little silos and connect. And so with that said, I hope everyone will be back tomorrow. It's not going to be as long a day as it was today. We do have a focus on ecosystems tomorrow. It'll be kicked off by an opening remarks from Secretary Wade Crowfoot of the Natural Resources Agency, followed by a keynote on biodiversity by Dr. David Ackerley of UC Berkeley. We have two sessions, one focused on impacts on vegetation and the second focused on impacts on wildlife. And finally, we're looking forward to a closing keynote from Dr. Christopher Field of Stanford and closing remarks from another state agency that's a big player in climate change, the Governor's Office of Planning and Research. So thank you, everyone, and we hope to see many of you again tomorrow. Marit?
Thanks, Carmen. So I think the only thing left to close the day is our fun word cloud. So here we go. All you have to do on your phone is go to menti.com and it will ask you for a code, which is 3504460. And then you can provide us your key takeaway word from today's presentation and discussions. So looking forward to seeing it populate. Here we go. So thank you everyone for leaving your last word, giving us your last word as we close the day, and we look forward to seeing you on Slack and seeing you back tomorrow for our second day. Have a good evening, everyone.